Namaste. So I'm going to read Book 6, Chapter 16 on the incidents preliminary to the Heihaya and Bhargava affairs. Om Bhagavatam Maha. Janamajaya said, in whose family were born these Kshatriya Heihayas that killed in ancient times the Bhargavas, disregardless of the sin incurred in killing a Brahmin. O grandsire, never do the good persons become angry without a serious cause. Therefore, kindly state why they got angry. How was the enmity caused between them and the priest? As far as I can think, the cause is not so simple a one as led to this enmity between the Kshatriyas and the priest. Otherwise, why then would they slay the offenseless Brahmins fit to be worshipped? And how was it that the Kshatriyas, though they were so very powerful, did not fear to commit a sin? O Muni, can any Kshatriya chief kill a Brahmin worthy of the highest respect merely on a trifling cause? Describe to me then how this happened. A great doubt has thus arisen in my mind. Sutta said, O Rishi, Vyasa, the son of Satyavati, became very pleased when he was asked this question by Janamajaya, and recollecting the whole course of events regarding the Heihayas, began to narrate it. Vyasa said, O son of Parikshit, I will now narrate that wonderful story of old that I know fully. Now hear this very attentively. In ancient times there was a king named Karta Vir Yarjuna of the family of Heihaya. He was 1,000 hands powerful and always ready to observe religious duties. He was the incarnation of Hari, the disciple of Maharishi Dattatreya, and the worshipper of the supreme force Adya Shakti. He was well known as a perfect adept in the yoga practices and of a very charitable disposition. But this king was the client of the Brahmins of the Bhargava clan. He was always devoted to performing sacrifices, exceedingly religious, and always engaged in making gifts. So many a time did he perform the great sacrifices and gave a profuse quantity of wealth to the Bhargavas. Due to the gifts and presence of Karta Virya, the Bhargava priest became possessed of many horses and gems and jewels, and so became wealthy and prosperous on the surface of this earth. O king, when Kartavirya, the best of kings, left the mortal coil and got up to heavens, his descendants became entirely void of any wealth by the indomitable influence of time. Now, on a certain occasion, the Heihayas had to perform certain actions which necessitated a vast sum of money. They came to the Bhargavas and humbly prayed for a very large amount of wealth. But the Brahmins, out of the greed of money, replied they had no money, and thus they did not give any money whatsoever. Rather, the Bhargavas thought that the Heihayas would perforce take their wealth, and fearing thus, some of them buried all their valuables underneath the ground, and others gave as charities to the Brahmanas. The greedy Bhargavas, bewildered with fear, thus transferred all their properties elsewhere. quitted their homes and fled away to mountains and other places. The greedy Brahmins did not give any wealth to the Yajamanas, their clients, though they saw them very much distressed, but they fled away out of fear to mountains and fastnesses, where they found shelter. At last, the high-highers, the best of the Kshatriyas, became very sorry till, at last, for the sake of their good actions, they went to the Bhargavas' houses for the sake of money, and found that they had quitted their homes and fled away. Their homes were all vacant. Then they began to dig underneath their houses for money, and some got the money thus. Then the Kshatriyas began to labor hard and got hoards of money from underneath the ground. Next, they raided upon the Brahmanas' houses and dug and excavated and searched for more money. The Brahmins were helpless and, crying, all took their refuge out of fear under the Bhargavas. The Kshatriyas made an exhaustive search of the Brahmanas' houses and got lots of money. Then they charged the Brahmanas as having had spoken falsehood, and they became very angry and killed the Brahmanas with arrows who took their refuge. O king, the Hayhayas were so very angry at that time that they went wherever the Bhargavas took their shelter and cut asunder the fetus in the wombs of their Bhargavas' wives, and thus they roamed all over on the surface of the earth. Wherever they saw any Bhargava, be he a minor or a youth or an old man, at once they killed him with sharp arrows, disregarding the sin Brahmahatya. When the Bhargavas were thus all killed, then they caught hold of their wives that were pregnant and destroyed their wombs. When the vicious Kshatriyas thus destroyed the lives in their wombs, the helpless woman began to cry like the awe-stricken ewe. Then the other Munis, the inhabitants of the sacred places of pilgrimages, seeing the high-higher Kshatriyas, the Hayhaya, H-A-I-H-A-Y, Hayhaya Kshatriyas, inflamed with anger, said, O Kshatriyas, quit your terrible anger towards the Brahmins. Being the best of the Kshatriyas, you are killing the fetus in the wombs of the pregnant Brahmana ladies. You are doing, no doubt, a very vicious and unjustifiable act. You should know that an act very bad or very good bears fruit in this life. Therefore, those that seek their welfare should entirely omit this exceedingly hateful and vicious act. Then the exceedingly angry Hayhayas told the merciful ascetics, you all are saints, therefore you do not know the real import of what are called vicious acts. Those Bhargavas, thoroughly dexterous in cunning pursuits, perceived our large-hearted forefathers and stole away all their gold and jewels, as thieves do with a passerby on a road. These Bhargavas are cheats, vain persons, and their persuasions are like herons. A great act had to be done by us, and we wanted money at 25% interest with all the becoming humility, yet they did not give us the money. Rather, seeing on their face their clients distressed and sorrowful, they spoke that they had no money, and then they remained silent. True, they got all their money from Kartavirya, but it may be questioned why they stored it. Why did not they perform sacrifices with that? Why did not they give sufficient money to the other priests, Yayakas, that did the sacrifices? Never should any Brahmin hoard his money. He should give that in charity and enjoy at his pleasure, O twice born in amazing wealth. There exist three fears: fear from the thieves and robbers, fear from the king, fear from dreadful fire accidents, and especially great terrible fear from the cheats. This is the nature of wealth. It leaves its preserver. See, moreover, when a hoarder of money dies, he certainly has to quit it. If a wealthy man, before dying, performs sacrifices and other good pious acts by his earned money, then he gets certainly good states in future. Otherwise, he quits his wealth to no purpose and earns a bad state in his future life. There is no doubt in this. We humbly wanted to pay a quarter interest and asked money for the performance of a great act. Yet, they, the greedy ones, were doubtful about our promise and thought our priest, they did not give us the money. O Maharishi's gift, enjoyment, and destruction, these are the three courses which any wealth has to pass through. Those persons that have done good deeds enjoy their wealth and give us charities, and thus they make a good and real use of their money. And of those that are vicious, their wealth goes away in ruin, and to no purpose. He who does not enjoy nor give in charities, but is only clever in hoarding, and who is miser, the kings punish him by all means. That man who cheats himself and who suffers only pains and miseries, for that reason we are now ready to kill those Brahmins, the vilest of men. The cheats, though they are our gurus or Maharishis, you are great persons, therefore you do not be angry after you have come to know all these. Vyasa said, thus consoling the Munis with reasonable words, the Heyhayas began to roam about in search of the wives of the Bhargavas. The Bhargava wives were very much distressed with fear and became very lean and thin. They fled away to the Himalayan mountain, weeping and crying and trembling with fear. Thus the Bhargavas were being killed by those vicious, greedy Heyhayas. Infuriated with anger, and as they liked, O king, this greed is the greatest enemy of a man residing in his own body. This greed is the root of all evils, of all sins. Life is in danger due to this covetousness. It is due to this greed that quarrels ensue amongst the several castes, the Brahmins, etc., and that the human beings are very much troubled with thirst after worldly enjoyments. This greed makes a man forsake all his religious rites and long existing customs and observances of his family, and it is due to this avarice of gold that men kill their fathers, mothers, brothers, friends, gurus, sons, acquaintances, sisters, and sisters-in-law, and others. Really, when a man is bent on avarice, nothing heinous remains to him that cannot be done by him. This greed is a more powerful enemy than anger, lust, and egoism. O king, men abandon their lives for their greed. What more can be said than this? So, one should be always alert on this. O king, your forefathers, the Pandavas and Kauravas, were all religious, and they followed the path of virtue and goodness. Yet they all were ruined simply for this greed. See, the dreadful fight and separation amongst the relatives took place, where there were the high-souled persons like Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, Karna, Valika, Bhimasena, Yudhishthira, Arjuna, and Kesava. Only through the avaricious feelings in this battle Bhishma, Drona, and the sons of Pandavas were all slain. The brothers and fathers were all slain in battle. Thus, what improper acts and mischiefs can there be that cannot be committed when the human minds are overpowered by this greed? O king, the vicious Heyhayas slew the Bhargavas all through this avarice. Here ends the 16th chapter in the 6th book on the incidents preliminary to the Heyhaya and Bhargava affairs in the Maha Puranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Padra Kali Kapali Durga Kashma Shima Viswaswa. Om Tuya Mata Chavita Tuya Tuya Bandhu Shachasaka.